Yeah.
So
you're still figuring out who you
and
are.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of sometimes. Like a couple days ago, I was like having that feeling that I feel like most artists and animators thinking of like, okay, maybe I can't do this as a career. I have to do this as a hobby and find a real job. I was going through that. And I was even looking back at video editing or something that has like some kind of career, but then I went back to it thinking like, crap, I don't want to do I don't want to be doing this as like my full time. I'm like, because I've had like I'm gonna be, after this program, I'm gonna be back to work, maybe even doing 2 jobs to make some money, and that's gonna be like, I even remember just doing a job and like having the time after work, it like is almost like non-existent from how tired you can be.
But this is the point, really. Like, when you're able to make time to connect with your artistic spark and the part in you that is free and unfettered. So a lot of this can be reflected in a book called The Artist's Way. A lot of this can be reflected in the works of Seth Godin, which I've mentioned on the pod before. It isn't about the output. It isn't about seeing results right away to justify your art's practice as viable or sustainable. Anyone who enters any creative or professional industry knows that the money will eventually come. It's about your connection to what you're doing and your personal integrity and how you are willing to honor yourself and what gives you a sense of purpose, and how a lot of artists deal with the need, to make a lot of money if they're living in regions where, paid arts practice isn't super readily available everywhere. They identify themselves as an artist first or a creative first, and then whatever they have to do to get the income in to support their arts education, or moving to an area where there are more paid opportunities to practice art as their second. So they wouldn't necessarily identify as, an accountant or a barista. They would identify, I'm an artist first, and I also balance people's books for money, and I also make coffees for people for money. How do you feel about that?
To myself, I've always just thinking of like, when I'm working, I'm always thinking about like my projects and all that stuff, and that's usually what I'm doing most of the time in my head. And when people say like, oh, there goes the Starbucks boy, and I'm like, okay, weird, but okay.
Who says that?
Not just like the kids or something that like they're there because it's right next to the high school I used to be at. So they come over. They think I'm an old man, even though I've literally like graduated for like, I had a longer beard or something, and someone thought I was 30, and I'm like, no, I'm like 3 years older than you. I'm sorry, it hits life after high school hits hard. So I mean, in a good way. I mean, life does get better anyway, usually.
Yeah. And our identities as artists are in flux, and sometimes it takes a while for any identity to settle. Some people need to travel. Some people, take a bunch of certificate programs like you're exploring to kind of figure out where they want to be and who they are. And other times they take more direction from their families. Other times they have to move across the country, something that I'm doing, because I know that the opportunities in New York City for professional artists are probably about 200 times more than where I grew up, where I came from. So like you, I spent my early 20s. I graduated from high school in BC, Canada, and I went to a local university, and there was hardly any work. But I managed to get work, and when I didn't get work, I made my own work. So I was able to get contracts. I was able to create my own arts practice and hire people to work for me. Now, this is very it's cool to do, cool to try. It's very inspirational when you're able to get a little bit of traction, but it takes a tremendous amount of energy. It's easier to do when you have, say, family resources to fall back on, and eventually people either continue on this trajectory or they have to make a bit of a pivot. So I think the biggest thing that I would want listeners to take away from this conversation would be, if you can't manifest your creative dreams immediately, do not write yourself off. Don't cut yourself out. Don't undermine your talent or your self-belief, because there's so much that is required to manifest something, and it's not a reflection of your worth as an artist.
Yeah, what she said. What she said.
So tell me about your big picture, high-level dreams. What would you like to be doing in, say, 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I just remembered what you're saying about the personal projects thing. Yeah, that's kind of like some of the similar thing, but 5 years, well, I don't want to be like a giant greedy CEO guy or something who controls like, or maybe like, not like Richard Williams. I mean, Richard Williams is good. I love Richard Williams, but it's also like, I don't want to be this like ringleader or something, because I'm not really that kind. I would love to manage my own projects and help people like in a group, but I don't want to be I don't want to be, I don't know if I'm the right kind of person to be like, yeah, for 5 years, I want to be a collab. I like collaborating with people. That's what I've noticed a lot with. That's why I really want to go to like this like an in-person program and not doing online, because I really want to. I'm lonely. I want to talk to people. Yeah. I mean, like in 5 years, I mean, having a studio, I think the only reason I want to have a studio, that's mostly just creative control. Obviously, I've been looking into what if I went to business school or something, but I'm really money. Obviously, I can definitely tell by how much money I spend on coffee, even though I have a coffee machine at home. Sugar coffee, Tim Hortons, Starbucks. I'm definitely not a financial person, especially trying to save up for the diploma. With the barely any savings just from the 1 year. I'm definitely more of the arts, like in the creative field, and I just really, I don't know, I'm definitely just more of an outgoing person. I just rather have that connection, just make friends, even though I don't make friends and like creative stuff. Financially, of course, I mean, I think everyone wants to be in a better financial place than before, but even if I was like let's say I'm not in a financial space, good financial space in 5 years, that would suck. But if my connection skills improving, I had projects I'm proud of, I've made, and I've been like going further, I would say that would still be worth it. Obviously money will be nice, but like if my development has increased a lot and my social connections related to like knowing people and not just like knowing them in a business level, but like a personal level, like not as like when I was doing VFS online, I did actually set the word connections because I thought like my teacher would think I'm not being professional if I said friends. And he was like, I don't really like the word connections in this industry. I like saying friends because I actually like the people. Because when we say connections, it makes it sound like, oh, we don't really care about you. We're just grabbing something from you. And I'm like, no, I mean, in this, we all kind of want to see people grow.
And also, in order to have a sustainable arts practice, being able to bounce ideas off of others, to share what you were able to accomplish, to give bits of advice on what's worked and what's not worked, is incredibly valuable. And, sometimes you can maintain those friendships as friendships. Sometimes you will be working with your friends. So I think it's good to understand yourself first really, really well as an artist and as a communicator, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, so that you can enter into those relationships with a high degree of ethics, and so that you're not, just taking advantage of people's status or connections to various projects, because that can quickly translate to people feeling used.
For me, talking like to people, there was like obviously there's always like something like you see that one person, you probably think of something in your head, but you never say it to them out loud. If you probably know, but I've always been like, just always been like, just want to be chill, just be chill with people on the outside, want to be have a good impression for myself and everything, and also just like, because you don't know, like, maybe that feelings for a person is just temporary. You may, that's just like, that's actually that. You don't know that person 100% yet, and you'll probably, your first impression might be wrong. So then, so you want to like
just try and treat everyone as well as you possibly can, with as much respect as you can, because you never know what situation you might find yourself in. So some of my favorite animations that inspired me to take my animating more seriously are Adventure Time by Pendleton Ward, Midnight Gospel by Pendleton Ward, Fiona and Cake by Pendleton Ward, Sailor Moon, Toei Animation.
I love regular show, JQ, Quintel, and Steven Universe, Rebecca Sugar, Rebecca Sugar, and Gravity Falls, Alex, which I need to rewatch that one. They recently had a Book of Bill that came out. Yeah. That I still have to. Apparently, I saw. I think somebody has burned the book already. A Catholic mother already burned the book already.
Oh, right. This was made possible in my brain by a good friend of mine who worked on Bob's Burgers.
Oh yeah.
And I think the same studio also did a bit of work on Gravity Falls. And my friend is also working on another project based on a very popular live-action series. So being only like 1 degree of separation from all these amazing projects makes it real. And if you can continue to learn from people, like, don't find their prowess or their, say, technical skills or conceptual skills intimidating. Instead, thinking about those things as inspirational or something that you can grow towards, not replicate, because everybody's different, but there's a lot of transferable skills, especially when it comes to business, especially when it comes to people skills. And one of the things that both of our instructors this term have mentioned is a lot of artists, they come to their art as a way to express things that our society often doesn't provide a lot of space to express verbally or formally. And a lot of kids, before we're indoctrinated in school, they are operating at a subconscious level. So things like challenging emotions, confusing social dynamics, etc. That's the value of being able to communicate in a visual medium, especially with music and with voice acting and these creative right hemisphere of the brain oriented activities. You can make a really positive impact if you're able to create stories that do something more than just entertain. And so that's primarily why I am an animator and an artist. It's to connect with people who will never step foot in the therapy room, who could very well benefit from it, and who might be struggling, because I remember things like Ruby Gloom as well, things like Biker Mice from Mars, and they took up subject matter that I knew my friends, my family at the time, we couldn't touch, but I was able to get a sense of catharsis and validation, like secondhand, just through consuming this media. So I've
kind of have the same. Yeah, I kind of have the similar motives as well as an artist. When I played Earthbound from the Super Nintendo in 1995. You were saying bye, and I was like, I want to make sure I had the trademark.
That's right.
See the trademark and everything.
95.
Copyright, see the copyright and all that. But when I played that one, I kind of like, I think back like 2017, 2018, I guess I had a bit of a suppressed emotions. I was trying to fit in with this like edgy, like 2018 humor crowd or like high school. I hated it, but playing Earthbound, I was kind of like more of like, it made, because of how weird it was, it made me more open of expressive with creativity. Mm-hmm. And with how emotional it felt when I played it, it does inspire me to like, I want to recreate these same feelings. I don't want to just be like a one-time thing and walk away from it. I'm like, I wanted to keep, this feels like something I need to produce.
Absolutely. While you were just finishing up, I was looking up a quote that I think perfectly summarizes our conversation of why pursuing the arts is important and it is tenable, because there are these industry-connected programs you can take that can lead straight into jobs, like my friend who's been doing this for over a decade, and she's paid very, very well, like potentially you could if you wanted to do this full-time. And like I will, because I'm moving to New York.